All right, here is another gear list, and this one's going to be different than normal. I'm going to run through right now everything I brought to Tajikistan on that Marco Polo and Ibex hunt I did recently. So that hunt was end of November through the first part of December, and it's really hard to prepare for all the conditions you're going to face. And that's why I think it was really valuable. If you listen to the podcast, I mentioned I really want to do a gear list, but I thought about doing it before the hunt, but I really want to do it after the hunt, and that way I can check through all the gear I actually did not use. So everything you see here and all these other little clips we're going to do throughout my gear list is everything I actually used on the hunt. And why I want to do it that way is there really wasn't a great way to find what type of gear to bring for the hunt that I went on. Yes, when you book with a booking agent, outfitter, that sort of thing, they do send you some rough gear list ideas, but it really wasn't, hey, bring this, 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 this. It's just like, hey, bring some insulation layers, bring some good boots, that sort of thing. So hopefully this will help people out, you know, if they're gonna go on any crazy international hunt or maybe an extreme cold weather hunt, because all this gear is very similar to some of the stuff I do take on my mule deer hunts, just a little bit catered to a lot more cold weather gear. So we'll start off with, as you see here, this is all the clothes. And clothes as well, I wanted to bring some of the clothes I also packed on the airplane and just walking around while I was there, because that also had to be thrown in my baggage for weight as well. So what you see here, everything hunting and then running through airports and that sort of thing. So I guess I'll start off with clothes I actually wore through an airport. You can't see it right now, but I'm just wearing some Wrangler pants. I wore one pair of pants the entire time throughout the airport. I thought about bringing an extra pair, brought it to Minnesota with my dad, then started going through my gear, and I was like, I don't actually need two pairs of pants. So I just wore one pair of Wrangler jeans the whole entire time traveling through the airport. I had a couple goHUNT t-shirts, which aren't shown here. I forgot those at home. But I also had a Sitka Core lightweight hoodie, just a great piece for traveling around. And then I just love, as everyone knows, I love the Core lightweight hoodie. So I was wearing that a lot in the airport. And then I also had a Sitka Traverse hoodie. This thing was just great. Again, walking through towns. We went to Istanbul, Turkey, and did a full 2 days there. So I was wearing this a lot because it was, decently cold over there. And then traveling as well from Dushanbe as we were driving, I had this on as well because it was starting to get cold as we're driving up in the high elevation. So some of the stuff I just had when we're traveling, those two pieces, I'll start clearing them off. Boxers, probably didn't bring enough boxers, but I had 3 total pairs of the Saks Quest boxers, and I had 1 pair of Mountain Ops Merino boxers. And I kept switching back and forth between these guys while I was hunting and the Saks Quest boxers. So I don't bring a lot of stuff, as most people know, on hunts, especially when it comes to boxers and socks and that sort of thing, and I continue that here as well. Because again, going on a hunt like this, I was overweighted on my bags, we'll get to that later, but I was trying to save weight where I can and not carry a bunch of extra stuff that I knew I wouldn't need. So boxers, I can just wear those multiple days and I'm totally fine on the hunt. Other things, now let's jump into main hunting clothing. So every single day, I had Sitka Core lightweight hoodie as my base layer. And this is just in the open country pattern because it is, one of those winter stuff, so I did not carry any subalpine on this hunt. Core lightweight hoodie, staple of mine, love this piece, just works phenomenally all the time. So that's always what I have as a base layer. I followed up with that with the Core heavyweight hoodie. And again, as my dad would say, everything has a hood, which to him is kind of an annoyance, but I actually like having all my base layer pieces having a hood because I might just throw this hood on if I'm hiking and it's not gonna be too hot. If I get a little cold, I have that hood plus this hood and just blocking all that wind because it was windy every single time. I suppose I should probably talk about temperatures, what I experienced, because that's going into all this stuff too. So like I said, end of November, first part of December, temperatures on the hunt were, beginning of the week, it was like -15 and super windy. So that's why a lot of pieces to try to block the wind. And then as the hunt progressed, it maybe got to -5. Maybe it was like a high of, 10 degrees at some point, but it was pretty cold. And the thing that was hard to prepare for is last year at the same time, it was -40. So that's why we did bring some extra insulation pieces just in case it got really cold. But we didn't have those cold temperatures. But yeah, core heavyweight hoodie. And then I actually did not bring my Jetstream jacket. So you do not see my Jetstream jacket here. And I brought it to Minnesota again and ended up ditching that because I thought I did not need that piece, which ended up being that it was kind of glad I left it home because I never really had a need on that hunt for the Jetstream. But then for the upper layer for the jacket, I did bring Aerolite parka. This thing is an absolute workhorse of an insulation piece. Blocks wind really well, insulated, and I basically lived in this jacket every single day. And I was actually able to stay totally comfortable with like the core lightweight hoodie, heavyweight hoodie, and a combination of this on my upper, and I was totally warm the entire time. Even at -15, we were hiking around, setting down to watch sheep, watch ibex, I was totally warm. But this piece is phenomenal. It's sometimes the same piece I do take on some of these late season hunts. I actually had this jacket with me in Colorado this year, and it's just a phenomenal piece. Blocks wind, block a lot of the snow. It's a little heavy, so probably not something you want to backpack with, but you know, for this hunt we weren't really backpacking, so that's why there's some heavier pieces on here. And I really like too that it actually has this little back area here. I can sit down in the snow and kind of protect myself from, you know, getting snow at me, and it's a little bit longer in the back too. So it's a great piece. Highly recommend this piece if you're looking for something that's an insulation piece, but also can block a lot of wind. This is the tool for the job. I also brought the Aerolite Blizzard bibs, but this is one of those pieces that I actually did not use the entire time I was in Tajikistan, but I wanted to mention this because I had this at all times in my backpack in case I needed to, because laying down in the snow, it definitely got cold, but I just never put it on, but I always had it with me just in case. And I elected to go this rather than puffy pants just because this is more of a outer layer that I can beat up, lay in the rocks, lay in the snow, and not damage my puffy pants. So I had this the whole time, but never actually used it. But I'm still gonna include it because I think it's an essential piece. When you go over there, you don't know what the weather conditions are gonna be like, so you wanna prepare for the worst. Another insulation piece as well that came in handy, I used this a few times, is the Sitka Kelvin down WS hoodie. So this is another bomber insulation piece. Really bulky, but it is really nice when those temperatures drop. So a lot of times this also just sat in my backpack. And then pant-wise, for late season hunt, I absolutely love the Timberline pants. So Timberline pants I took with me in those every single day, have the knee pads on them. Great workhorse of an outer layer pant for a late season hunt. And then underneath that, I just had the core heavyweight from Sitka. These things were my long johns, and I also lived in those every single day. Left camp, had these on, never took them off the entire time. Headwear, so as everyone knows, I do get kind of cold out there because I am a 6'5", almost 6'6" person and long extremities, so I do get cold. So I brought a lot of different extra headwear. Neck gaiter was really essential too because it's super windy out there, blocks a lot of the wind, and just it's really great having that extra, whatever you want to call it, polyester fleece type stuff on the inside. And then I had the Blizzard beanie as well, and then I also had the Jetstream beanie. So as I was hiking up, I was starting this, and then as I sat down in glass, I would just switch over to the heavier beanie just to keep the wind off me. We'll go hat. This is just the goHUNT 112. Probably one of my favorite hats. Love Richardson hats, super comfortable. And I always have to have that goHUNT flair when you're on a hunt. So that was a lucky hat on Tajikistan. Gloves. Gloves are an interesting thing over there. And the mittens. So every single day, I took the Traverse gloves from Sitka and then put those inside the gunner gloves. And I was actually surprised how well it worked, but when you put them on together, you still can actually do everything with both these gloves together. And I hiked around all the time in these, and it actually get too cold hiking around just like that, even in the negative 15-degree weather. But then I also had the Outdoor Research Ulti mitts with at all times as well. The reason I love these are basically, I don't know, I feel like you could climb Everest with them. Pretty bomb proof. On the inside, they do have a down little mitten. And then, they have the outer shell. The nice thing is as well with this combination, I could just use my Traverse gloves, go in there, and then go in there, and I have extra insulation at all times. So it's kind of a unique thing that had all this combination of gloves, and that was all I brought. So I didn't bring anything extra there, and this was just absolutely perfect for keep my hands warm at all times in those windy conditions. Then outer layers. So since we're hunting in snow, they recommended we bring some overwhites. And I actually picked up these pieces from Sitka. This is their Nodak line. This is the Nodak jacket. It's basically their snow goose line. But I figured this is gonna be a perfect piece since it's a solid white, and it also is, in a way to me, it's like a, kind of like a rain jacket almost. It's very, very durable, and I actually love how it has a zipper design, which is gonna be built to not collect a lot of, dirt and snow and that sort of thing, because it does have these little Velcro areas to protect your zippers. Because everyone knows when you get a bunch of junk in your zippers are going to fail. So I think that's why they incorporated that in this piece, since it is a snow goose piece, but it worked really, really, really well in the mountains of Tajikistan. As you can see, it's pretty beat up. And you got some, I think that's Ibex on there right now. But yeah, pretty much wore these every single day as well. And this was also a really good piece too, because it was blocking a lot of the wind in combination of the other layers I was using. So I was on the upper, and the bottoms are just the Nodak bibs. And again, these aren't really made for mountain hunts, but I actually made them work. One thing I kind of wish they had, as you can see here, there is no outer pockets. And that was kind of, I do wish it had some outer pockets so I could put maybe some extra things in there, gloves or my ammo wallet. But overall, it worked really well, and I was actually able to get to the zippers really easy if I needed to. Another neat feature I really liked about them is on the bottom. The zipper doesn't go all the way down to your boot. The bottom part is just snap buttons, which also then just made it so you're not going to get any nasty, again, whatever it is, debris and sand and whatever else in your zippers, because these are waterproof zippers, and so you just don't want to have a bunch of junk in your zippers. So I thought that was a really cool feature on them. But again, they're snow goose pieces, but they work really well for mountain hunts. If you have any other hunts with a bunch of snow in them, I would definitely suggest looking into these two pieces if you need some overwhites, maybe on a mountain goat hunt, or I don't know, maybe one of those late season, elk or mule deer hunts. So those worked really, really well for me. Now we're gonna jump into footwear on the hunt. And you see here, I have 2 boots up here. Again, since I was traveling the entire time, I didn't want to carry a bunch of extra footwear. And once I was gonna be landing, I was walking around town a little bit in Istanbul, but the rest of the travel time, I didn't want to be in shoes in case we hop out and there's snow on the ground. So I actually traveled the entire time in the Scarpa Montatex, and I absolutely love them. Yeah, they're way heavy duty for an airplane and traveling, but I figured if all else fails, I could use these boots to hunt with as well. So I didn't, why carry a pair of shoes on a hunt like this when I actually can't hunt in a pair of shoes? So if I needed another pair of boots, I had an extra pair of boots then. So I traveled in these, and once I actually got to hunt camp, I was wearing the Kenetrek Mountain Extreme 1000s the entire time. And these things were a absolute lifesaver because it was super cold, and just love having 1,000-gram insulation on a late season hunt like that. And socks, I would always have my standard just liner sock on the inside, and then I had the Farm to Feet Alaska socks. These things are very burly, very warm, and still have enough room to double these up and fit it in the Kenetrek boot. And then I did bring some backup socks, ended up not using them. Can't remember exactly which model socks these are, but these are the Kenetreks. These are actually really, really long. And then I also brought some Kenetrek liner socks as well, but did not use them. But I figured since we're going all the way over there, I probably should have some backups in case some of my stuff gets wet. And then Peak Stormcastle gaiters. Again, late season hunt. Everyone knows I love gaiters, so I was always having these gaiters with the Kenetreks. And as you can see here, these have seen a lot of use over the years, and they're absolute bomb-proof. Probably my favorite gaiter of all time. Everything about these gaiters is the perfect spec that I look for in a mountain hunting gaiter. Then one thing that's not pictured here too, since I was traveling with my dad did bring some boot warmers. So back at camp, we actually had power, and so we shoved some boot dryers in our boots every night. So I was just borrowing his. And that was another way we tried to save a little extra weight by combining some of our gear together, so we don't have to double up. So that's all the footwear. All right, now I'm gonna jump into some of the miscellaneous accessory gear I used when traveling. So traveling through the airport, I wanna have a bag that was waterproof and could basically just protect all my essentials, my camera, my laptop, passports, all the documents and stuff like that. So Yeti Panga 28 bag was the bag of choice. Again, it's just a bomb-proof bag. It's more, set up for fly fishing or that sort of thing, so you can actually go out in water and not get your valuables, wet and that sort of thing. But I figured it'd be perfect for a hunt like this, because I'm gonna be traveling, there's gonna be snow, and I just wanna protect all my essentials. So this bag had a lot of expensive things in it that I never left sight of this bag. So the neat thing about this bag is in the bottom of it, I had this Peak Design cube, and in here I have just a bunch of my backup lenses, and I put a bunch of this miscellaneous stuff inside here. So since I was going all the way over there, I wanted to have 2 camera bodies, because you never know, in a hunt like this that's so memorable and important, and I want to document it. I did not want to risk, what if I fell and broke a lens or broke a body, and want to have some backup. So this is the A7R III. This is a beast of a camera, just my backup body right now, and I brought that with. I do not need it, but rather have it, not need it, and need it, and not have it. I think that's how that saying goes. So I had an extra body. My main camera was the A7R IV with a Sigma 35 1.2 lens. This is the lens I shot all the photos with for the most part. All the harvest photos especially, scenery, that sort of thing. And then I also had the Sony 7200 2.8. Love this lens. It's a little heavier, but for getting a bunch of those compressed shots or big landscape, it was amazing to have this with. So I definitely took a lot of photos with this as well and tried to baby it, because this is goHUNT's lens. So I had to be very careful with it. And also, since I was doing a lot of run and gunning, photography stuff, I had the Peaks, wherever this is, a Peaks camera strap attached to it on the side. And I also have on the back here, the little cotton carrier attachment that I have on my backpack, so I could just slip it on my backpack, and it's always there, ready to take photos. And then I have an Arca Swiss plate as well, so I can mount to a tripod and take photos as well. And then there's just a lot of other miscellaneous things. My laptop's not sitting here, but I have my laptop with as well, so I can transfer all the photos and do some work in some of the airports. I've actually forgot this little charge cord before in some other hunts, so it's just essential. Like I always say, this is why I do a gear list and have a checklist, because I have all these miscellaneous stuff in my gear list for this hunt. That way I can run through it to make sure I didn't forget anything. So I have my laptop charger and laptop charge cord. Might not seem like that big of a deal, but when you're going all the way over there, you want to make sure you have everything dialed. So I had to have this. I had one of these faster little iPhone charge cords and charge bricks, but I also had a normal iPhone cord as well. The reason I brought this is I have a little charge brick here, and then also while we're traveling around a pickup truck, I just was able to plug this into one of those little cigarette, USB adapters to charge my phone and charge other things that I needed to. So made sure I had that. Made sure I had a charger for my camera batteries with as well. Had the just iPhone earbuds. Again, you're traveling long distance, and sure, you have on international flights you can watch movies and whatnot, but I'd rather just watch my own movies or have things download on my laptop, download on my phone. Just brought the earbuds, and that way too people don't talk to me when I'm in the airport, because I just want to zone out and just do my thing. Not a very sociable guy. Did bring 2 books. Read both of these books while I was over there. Man Eaters of Savo. This book is absolutely amazing. I just love adventure stories, and so cool story about railroad and a bunch of lions killing all the people when they're setting up this railroad. Awesome book. And then I brought with Sheep Hunter's Diary. This is just a book that this guy has lived an amazing life. All his sheep stories from all across the world. And so I read the Tajikistan one before I went there. I read the Tajikistan hunt stories again while I was on the hunt, just to familiarize myself with the area, because everyone knows I love learning about places I go, and I want to do justice when I go over there. So I want to learn as much as I can about Marco Polo and Ibex. So I read a lot of sheep books beforehand, but these are the 2 books I brought on the trip for all the downtime in the airport, because there was a lot of downtime with 20 some hours of travel. So got that, all these things. So miscellaneous bags. These are just this Stone Glacier, wherever they are, Stone Glacier little pockets. And it had a lot of my essentials and camera stuff in it. We'll do the camera one first here. So I brought a metric ton of memory cards, and the reason I brought a ton of memory cards on this hunt is, you'll see here, I have 2 external hard drives. So every time I got back from a day of hunting, uploaded all my photos, put them on a drive, instantly got a backup, and instantly took that memory card out and put it in another spot. So I had 3 total backups at all times of all my photos. Hunt like that again, it's, hunt of a lifetime. You want to make sure something doesn't get corrupted, a memory card or a hard drive. So I always kept 2 backups. And then when I was traveling back home, I gave my dad one of my backups to keep in his luggage. And I kept some of my backups in case something randomly happened or some of my stuff got confiscated. You never know when you're going international. So I wanted to make sure I crossed all the T's to make sure I got my photos back. So optics, blower guy. I'm always kind of nervous about packing this in a carry-on because it does kind of look like a little, dynamite stick or something like that. Or a grenade, I guess it would be. Grenade, not dynamite stick. But I made it through all the time. Just have the little lens caps and camera caps, a little backup for those. I brought a ton of Zeiss lens wipes, use these all the time with my optics, my dad's optics, camera gear. Again, hunt like that. Every day I wanted to make sure my optics were totally clean, binos in the spotter, and I wanted to make sure all my camera gear was dialed. So even during the middle of the hunt, I was cleaning much of my optics off. Batteries, I had a lot of batteries. I actually brought more batteries than I needed because I could charge everything in the evening, but I had 5 batteries total, 4 here and 1 in my camera body. Just a random lens pen. And then I brought a little self-timer remote. I always have this with me to help me take harvest photos when I'm by myself. And if I needed to, if my dad and I were together and want to take a photo, I could just set up on a tripod and click that and take a photo. Got to capture memories on a hunt, so I brought that guy as well. And then in this one, this is more of my, I don't know what you call it, random security bag. So in here I have a bunch of extra locks. I brought an extra lock for my rifle, so basically I can take the bolt out and shove this in there as a safety thing. You never know when you're flying out of these different airports what their rules might be, or they might say, hey, you need to have this, and if I don't have this, I don't want to get my rifle confiscated. So we did have a bunch of these extra ones that we would take our bolt out and throw this in there as well, just for safety to make sure our rifles made it. Tons of cordage. These are a bunch of cords just for the external hard drives. I have a micro USB cord. Then I have a USB cord, USB-C cord. And then also I brought a assortment of extra locks. Just to be able to lock up any random things I want to lock up my luggage, lock up my rifle case. I even locked up my ammo box. And I brought 2 backups for my rifle case. Again, you never know while you're traveling, even though my other locks are TSA locks, maybe they get cut and all of a sudden now I'm out of locks. And again, I don't want that rifle to not make it to my final destination. So I think it's a good idea to pack extra locks for your rifle case. So that's why I just brought a bunch of extras. You just never know. And I kept all my keys handy at all times. That's where I made sure I'd never lost these. And I also gave my dad a backup set as well. So we had double keys, double locks. Garmin InReach Mini 2, had that with the entire time. Obviously there's no service where we were at. So actually I was able to pull up weather every single day on this. And then I did shoot some messages back home when I killed the ram, and that was probably one of the coolest things. Cody's sitting here behind the camera. I shot him a message right away, big ram down, probably one of the coolest messages I've ever had to send. Never thought I would ever say ram down in a message, so that's why it was great to have this and communicate with people back home and communicate with work if I needed to. So this thing is a lifesaver. And you never know too, when you're traveling internationally, we get no bind, no cell phone service. We can use this to hopefully get rescued if we need to. Never know. And then I had just a faster memory card transfer thing. Just plug this in my computer. Again, my computer does have one, but what if that little thing corrupted and didn't work, and I wanted to transfer all my photos over, so I just brought a backup to transfer photos over to my computer and put them on the hard drives. And you'll see I have a lot of extra contacts just floating around because I am blind as a bat without my contacts. So I always have these in these suitcases, and actually it was very valuable too because we got stranded overnight, an extra night in Istanbul trying to get back home. All my luggage was already checked in, And then since I'm so blind, I have to pull my contacts out at night to be able to see the next day. So luckily I had all these with my travel gear as well, so I could actually see the next day. So it's always good for me personally to have extra contacts with at all times. And I do keep extra ones in my bino harness in my pocket. Just gotta have contacts when you're as blind as I am. So I have a lot of extra contacts floating around. Believe that covers all this miscellaneous stuff. Oh, touch on this too. So in here and in my passport, I actually had two photocopies of my passport and photocopies of my rifle permit and all the other permits I need to have a negative COVID test when I was over there. So I had a negative COVID test, kept that stuff on me at all times. I paper clipped all that stuff in the back of my passport. And like I said, I had a backup copy here, backup copy in this little bag. And then my dad also had a backup copy of my passport and all my information. And I had a backup copy of his passport and his rifle permit and all the other stuff he had too. I guess I didn't mention too in here, I also had a big document from the hunting consortium as well, had a bunch more of our backup documents we needed, and just in case we need anything extra. So we brought a lot of duplicates of things, because again, you're traveling so far, you never know what might happen. You never want to lose your passports. This was always on me at all times. And to make sure this thing never got stolen, with my Sitka Traverse jacket, actually has a little pocket up on top. So that was where I would keep a lot of my essentials in my wallet when I was traveling. Just zip that up there, and that jacket never left me. So yeah, it seems like a lot of stuff right here, but everything here for the most part fit in the Yeti bag. And that's why I said this stuff was essential, and I never let go of this bag throughout the whole travel. And also made sure I tossed a little, bag tag on the side, just in case. So thought long and hard about what optics to bring, because again, I don't want to carry too many optics, but also wanted enough optics to fully document the hunt and the other glass and all the crazy windy conditions over there. So I elected to bring my Siru ST124 tripod. This tripod is an absolute beast of a tripod. It's probably one of my favorite tripods now released from Siru. Pretty much taken on all my other, Western hunts. BA5 head on top, and I have the ASIAC carbon fiber handle on the side here. This actually cut down a little bit of the weight, and I like this a little bit shorter. And if I needed to, I probably could cut a little bit shorter probably, but this thing is an absolute beast. And it handles my Swarovski 115 very, very well. So since I was traveling really far across the world, I did bring the marsupial case for my Swaro, just to make sure everything is protected. And then here's the Eyes of God, Swaro 115 with the ATX. So I've had some people ask me, did I bring the ATX or did I bring the BTX? And I elected to take the ATX mainly because of the extra zoom. I wanted to be able to look really far away and then be able to zoom really, really close to digiscope and dissect the rams and Ibex I was looking at, and to take some really good video. I love the BTX for glassing really long range and finding animals, but I figured on a hunt like this, I wanted to document a little bit more, and that's why I elected for the ATX rather than BTX. And at the top, I do have the all-in adapter on top of here. This thing, I've used pretty much all the digiscoping systems around. They all work great, but I just feel like this one is a notch above. It's super slick to use, and I have the case right here. Easily just snaps right on whatever way I want to do it, and never have to worry about missing an opportunity. So super, super slick. Snaps right on. And then for binos, again, I got the marsupial enclosed large binocular case. On the side here, I have a wind meter. Front here, again, like I mentioned earlier, I have a bunch of extra contacts. On the back, I have 2 rangefinder batteries at all times. People are like, hey, is that gonna impede yourself on your chest? You don't even know it's there, especially when you have all these other insulation layers. So I keep 2 batteries there. And I also kept 2 extra rangefinder batteries in one of my pockets, inside one of those insulated jackets, to keep those batteries warm, because this hunt was brutally cold. On the side, I've got my SIG Kilo 8K ABS rangefinder. Again, I always say it, but having the right tools for the job is paramount in a hunt like this. Be able to take the one-shot kill, especially when you get over there, and elevations, compared to here, elevations are so much different. So I got there, did 100 yard zero on my gun, shot perfectly, ranged it at 400 yards this was 13,500 feet, and my gun was perfectly on from out west here over to Tajikistan, which this rangefinder makes everything so much easier. You don't have to worry about elevation change and making different dope charts. And it's having the tool for the job and knowing how to use it. And then in conjunction too, said in the podcast, I've said it in some other posts I made, but there's no way I could have taken the shots I did in Tajikistan without the Kestrel 5700 Elite. This is a shameless plug for an amazing tool because it was so windy over there that I was constantly, as I was laying down the gun, checking the wind, verifying that the ballistics in here are exactly matched with the ballistics in my rangefinder. So that way I totally know that shot I'm going to take, I'm going to hit that animal perfectly. Because on animals like that, you owe it to the animal always to make the one-shot kill, but over there it's just more special because the time it takes to travel over there, the cost of a hunt like this is a once-in-a-lifetime animal going after a Marco Polo and an Ibex, and this tool literally made my life when I was over there. It made everything so much easier. So I always have it in Western hunts, but just it reinforced the importance of having a wind meter when I'm over there. Obviously I had the iPhone 12 Pro Max, and then I had the all-in case attached onto it. And that's pretty much a run through my optics. Ooh, binos. Almost forgot the binos in here. So, binos. I brought the SIG Zulu 6 16 to 42. So I've been using image stabilization binos off and on. I absolutely love the Vortex Razor UHD 12x50s. But the reason I brought these over there is because of image stabilization. So again, it's crazy windy. Everywhere we went was, wind-blown ridges, or you're hiking up a ridge, your breathing is, chaotic because you're just hiking really fast at elevation, and so your body's shaking all the time. So I can actually pull up these binos, flip the switch, and now it's image stabilized, and I can sit there and glass, and the wind is not going to impact me when I'm glassing. These things are phenomenal. I feel like if I can glass with these, I can pick up more details because the image is so stable. It's basically like glassing off a tripod, but I can handhold them. And the funny thing is when I was over there, all the guides kept borrowing my binos because they wanted to use them because they were so phenomenal at just glassing in the wind. And so that's why, and I love too having 16 power. I could actually dissect the sheep a little bit easier and just tell, not quite age, but just size differences between the rams, because there was so many rams at all times. Like some groups were, 30 plus rams in a big giant band. So having these is really great, especially, like I said, in the wind. And I have used them quite a bit on Western hunts, but I really wanted to take them over there, and they absolutely shined. Like, very, very glad I took the Zulu 6 image stabilization binos on that hunt. And they do take a AA battery in the back. It's the only downside. I wish it was, maybe rechargeable with like a USB-C or something like that. So I did have to take some extra AA batteries, and I did keep those inside my jacket as well, just in case. But that battery should last you a long time. Like, I haven't had to change a battery in a long time, but these things are great. They're, unique looking, but they're also very small and compact and really light. And I definitely don't need a large bino harness because, as you can see here, they're pretty small in that large bino harness, but they'll work phenomenal for the hunt. And that's why I brought, again, the right tools for the job, especially when it comes to optics on a hunt like that. All right, now on to one of my favorite areas. This is my baby. The rifle means the absolute world to me. This is my Browning X-Bolt long range, chambered in 300 rum, and it really does everything I need to and more on a Western hunt or on an international hunt like this. So I built this gun this last year, kind of specifically for this adventure I was going on. Killed 6 animals with it this year: mountain lion, elk, Marco Polo, Ibex, and a wolf. And it did the job perfectly. So everyone knows I love a heavy rifle. A lot of reasons I love a heavy rifle. It doesn't, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but for me it works. This rifle weighs 14 pounds, 6 ounces, and I'm happy to carry it on any backpack hunt and any hunt at elevation as well. So this rifle, like I said, just means the world to me, and built it specifically for mountain hunting, and I can lay behind it and make the perfect one-shot kill every single time with it. So like I said, Browning X-Bolt, 300 rum. I got a Vortex Razor HD Gen 2, 4.5 to 27 rifle scope, Vortex Precision match rings. I have a 20 MOA Tally pick rail. I actually bedded the Tally pick rail to the rifle with no release agent because I want that thing to stay on there solid and never move. I also have a Macmillan A35 stock. I did a full bed job myself on the stock to match it perfectly with the action, make sure everything's locked in there. I have a Flatline Ops bubble level. I also have a Flatline Ops bubble level on the side that you can't see, just a little backup level. MDT Skypod Gen 2, this is the short pull. I have a Salmon River Solutions full Arca rail on the bottom, as you can see here, full Arca rail, so that allows me to, if I needed to, I can just loosen this up, slide this bipod anywhere I want to, lock it down super tight. It also enables me to constantly have a magnetospeed mounted on here instead of on the barrel, because every time I'm practicing, I always have my magnetospeed with me. So that's why I went with the full Arca rail. And on a hunt like this too, I really wanted the ability, if needed, to mount this on my Suru VA5 head. So you never know when you get in a shooting situation where laying prone is not going to work. I don't really trust shooting off a backpack. I want to make the best shot possible so I can actually mount this gun on my tripod and take a shot. I do have a short action precision, little throw lever on the front, this little custom piece so I can actually adjust the tension on it and lock it down. On the side, I have the short action precision 2-round ammo holder. I have a Snowy Mountain Rifles Snowflake 30 cal titanium brake on the end. Big nasty brake, allows me to track my impacts when I'm shooting. Rugged Ridge rear support. Probably talked about it a million times, but this thing is very essential when you're taking shots. I can basically put it in the back of the rifle, lock it in, and this sucker is not going to move. In a shot like I had in Tajikistan on my Marco, I had enough time to lay down the rifle, dig the front bipod legs in, get those things absolutely solid. Got the rear rest absolutely solid as well. So basically the rifle ain't going to move when I'm taking the shot. So I make that perfect shot of a lifetime, which it did, just hammered that sheep at 410 yards. I took 2 of the goHUNT ammo wallets. These things are absolutely amazing. I helped design them, so I'm a little biased, but I was going to keep all my rounds totally protected in there. I did bring 2, just in case. I always kept 1 on my body and then just 1 in my backpack, all ready to go. Because, I guess I'll jump ahead, but ammo case. So while traveling, we were limited to 40 rounds per person, which seems like a lot to me, but when you get over there and you have to sight in elevation, you never know if your gun got bumped while you're traveling. So 40 rounds, like I said, actually was, it's a lot, but you might need it. So inside here, I have all my rounds. As you can see, I think there's 35 in there right now. These bad boys are my 300 Rum, ADG brass, Federal 215 match magnum primers, Barnes 208 LRX boat tail bullets, and 90.5 grains of H1000 powder. And I believe they're 3185 feet per second, so they're smoking fast, but they hammer. And I was using these same bullets all year and really enjoyed just testing out the copper bullets. I got a lot of questions why I made the switch over to Barnes this year, and basically the main reason is just to have more opinions on different gear. That way people ask me, what's the performance of copper bullets? Now I can give an opinion on them because I built this rifle and that ammo specifically for all the Western hunts I did this year. So really love that entire combination. And with this case as well, I don't have the little foamies in here, but I did have a big piece of foam on the top and I also put foam in between all these cartridges just to help make sure everything wasn't shaking around when I was flying. And then on the front here, it does allow a little lock. So I also locked my ammo just in case when I was flying. I didn't want anything to get confiscated. So that guy, just some cheapy wraparound ear protection. I always have to have ear protection. I will admit that when I took a shot in my Marco Polo, I forgot to put these on and it sucked. Even though I had them on my neck. So I say it every time, I gotta get better at doing this because hearing is everything. And as my coworker will say, I'm definitely getting hard of hearing as I get older. And then to protect my rifle, I wanted something that protects my rifle scope, protects my action, and protects my barrel at the same time, which is why I absolutely loved the marsupial rifle cover. And yes, there's a million different designs out there. I just like this one because it actually fit my really long rifle scope. And it's extra padding on the inside to help protect it. It's super slick too, you just gotta, throw it on your rifle. You can strap it up, fully protects everything. So instead of having a gun case the entire time all over there, gun case is gonna be heavy, I just had this in the truck with my rifle, and then I can take this, loop it all the way down there, and protect my muzzle. I also had some electrical tape on there as well. And it's super easy to get off, just a couple clicks, pop it off. And then also you don't have to worry when you're, hiking around while you're hunting, you actually can just grab the strap right there. And unfortunately, I forgot my rifle sling at home, but I do have a rifle sling attached to the bottom. I actually added a custom little bipod sling here in the front. just to, you know, like I went a lot this year without a sling, and I figured on this hunt it'd probably be better to have a sling, because most of the time on my backpack hunts I just throw my rifle in my backpack and carry it around. So I'm trying to save a little bit of weight there by not carrying the sling, but on hunt in Tajikistan I did bring my rifle sling. And then one of the other areas I actually took on this international hunt just to have more of, you know, backcountry peace of mind, I did bring a set of fix-it sticks, torque wrenches, torque limiters, whatever you want to call them. So I brought a bunch of different sizes. This size is for my muzzle brake, make sure that's tightened all the time. And then I brought different size torque limiters just to, you know, double check everything that was over there. Obviously I checked everything beforehand, but again, you never know when you're traveling, something might get loose, or, you know, my muzzle brake maybe got loose, so I can tighten it all. And then we also made sure that every size I had in here also matched the size for my dad's rifle as well. And then glassing pad, it's not really part of a rifle accessory, but it definitely can be used for. So I brought the Stealthy Hunter glassing pad. As you can see here, is orange on one side, and it's the, whatever you call this, coyote coat on the other. And why I wanted to put this with the rifle area is, let's say I was in a shooting situation where, you know, maybe the rugged ridge rear support wasn't enough for me. I actually can take this and fold this up and actually shove this behind the rifle to make that rifle really stable as well. And I believe on my, oh, it might have been my Marco Polo shot, I actually used this to lay on in the snow. There's a lot of snow right there, so I was just laying on to make myself a little more comfortable and make sure I had a steady shooting position. So I believe that's everything on the rifle. Oh, I have a vortex throw lever as well, which I think that is an absolute key piece on a rifle. I can just take that and throw it over quickly to low power, crank it all the way this way for high power. I have it adjusted a certain way so it's not going to impede on anything. I actually can see all my dials, so I didn't want that throw lever to be in up position right now, because I won't be able to see my turrets. And also one more thing that I do with all my rifles, is I have little witness reference marks on every little area of my rings and my bubble level. That way I can ensure if something gets bumped, I can actually look at this to make sure everything is still square. And I got the vortex caps in the front and the back of the rifle scope. So that's pretty much everything with the rifle. Again, absolutely love this rifle. It hammers and does the job I need to, even though it's super heavy and, you know, might not be it for everyone, but it works for me. All right, now we're going to talk about luggage. So luggage is a really big consideration on an international hunt, because every time you add an extra bag, it's going to be more baggage fees. And unfortunately, a lot of our flights weren't connecting flights, and so we got hammered on baggage fees going over there. And so with all these bags, you know, my dad and I were also splitting up gear, putting them in there, making sure they're kind of weighed similar. But we still had a bunch of our bags that were overweight, which hurt. So we probably could have added one more bag, but we pretty much had this setup right here. And then my dad actually had an extra Sitka Nomad bag as well. So jump over, we had Panga 100-liter bag here, and inside there we actually had two other bags that we used to transport our Ibex back home, and then put a bunch of miscellaneous stuff, boots, that sort of thing, in that bag, tripods, that sort of thing. And I really just like that bag because it's durable, and I can beat the crap out of it in an airport, and it'll make it there. One thing I did too, which I'm not going to show you guys because that's my address on it, but I marked my address on all these outside of these bags. That way, you know, if a baggage tag gets ripped off, I wanted to make sure that bag could continue on, and obviously the airline strap, you know, could make my bag continue further. But just want to make sure throughout this whole thing that everything was completely dialed. So I personally had Sitka Nomad bag. Like I said, this bag is absolutely seen a lot of different hunts, beat up. And then for the rifle case, my dad and I actually took one rifle case, which that was one thing I was kind of a little nervous about, because we both put our rifles in one case here. So that way, if, you know, I was nervous if that got lost or did not make it there, we'd be out two rifles and we have to use a camp rifle. So if I did it again and you're going with two people, it might be beneficial to actually take two rifle cases, but we risked it and put both our rifles in this case. This is the SKB double rifle case. Again, I've used this on all my, you know, hunts I have to fly on. And inside this rifle case, I actually found some things I forgot to talk about before. I found my rifle sling. Rifle sling was hidden in here. I have some loopholed sunglasses. Obviously over there, it's very bright in all the snow, so I was wearing sunglasses quite a bit. I have a flash for my camera, taking photos at night if I needed to. I actually brought two of the Peaks backcountry dual headlamps. I'm always a big promoter of having two headlamps on a hunt in case one goes down. These headlamps are absolutely bomb-proof though, so I have no worries about them actually breaking, but I just wanted to have two just in case. So, and they're super bright if need be when you're trying to navigate yourself out in a dark situation. I did bring a bunch of supplements. I brought some Mountain Ops Ignite, Mountain Ops BCAAs, Mountain Ops Slumber, and then my dad had brought a bunch of Pedialyte. And if you listen to the podcast and you got to the point where I talk about Diamox absolutely crushing me, you will know that the Pedialyte were an absolute game changer. I was trying to replenish my body of electrolytes after having a not so pleasant experience. I mentioned locks earlier, but these are the two main locks I always use in my rifle case. These are made by Cedar Mill Fine Firearms. These are bomb-proof rifle locks. They actually have a code on the back. You can set it yourself, and they are TSA approved locks. So if they need to get in your bag or rifle case for whatever reason, they can. But remember, I said I also did bring a bunch of extra locks as well. I do have some things in here I can talk about. My dad also brought a big selection of hand warmers with, just because it's cold. So I actually kept a couple in my pockets, and after I shot my Marco Polo, my hands were completely numb, and these were really great to have just on me at all times. And then what else do I have in here? Ooh, trekking poles. So I have my Peaks Backcountry Elite trekking poles. I actually only used one of them when I was hiking around, but I did bring two just in case because of the high elevations we were going at, and rocky terrain, snow. I just wanted to have a trekking pole at all times, so I did carry one trekking pole while I was hunting. Then one more thing I didn't mention too, I actually carried an extra rifle bolt just in case something went haywire. And again, if you listen to the podcast, you know one of the other guys in camp actually had his rifle bolt fail on him. And so if he had a backup bolt, he could have just popped that one in there and made it work. But I actually took apart his bolt for him, cleaned it all up, and he still was having some issues on it. But might have had some bad ammo or a combination of bad ammo and a bad firing pin, but I did bring two rifle bolts as well. But these are the bags we brought. And like I said, my dad had a Sitka Nomad bag as well. And then we both had, just day bags. I had a Yeti bag and he just had a normal bag for traveling. So that's all the bags we used traveling to Tajikistan. All right, one of the last few areas we got is backpack. So I brought my Stone Glacier Sky Guide 7900. Not much to say other than this is a bomb-proof backpack. Absolutely beat the crap out of it every single year, and brought it to Tajikistan as well. And actually I was worried about how to travel with this bag, but that Yeti Panga was actually able to fold this backpack up enough to fit it in there. Surprised I got it in there, but I got it in there. On the outside of it, like I said before, I have the cotton carrier for my camera. That way I can just have my camera always ready to take pictures. Now I want to talk about these little guys. I'm a person who hates pills, so I hated having to take pills. I don't take pills on a normal basis at all. I don't believe in a lot of that stuff because I just keep my body really trained all year and eat really clean. But I did go to the doctor beforehand and said, hey, I'm going up to some high elevation. What do you got for me? And they prescribed me some Diamox, and I actually had some nausea medicine just in case, and also my dad brought some Pepto-Bismol, which that came in handy. So Diamox, as you guys know, wrecked my body completely, but it's hard to say if it was needed for me because we're up at, close to 16,000 feet. Camp was at 13,700. So I did take Diamox, had a bad reaction to it, and I got off it pretty quick. And then 36 hours later, roughly, I was feeling fine again. But if you're the type of person, or any person for that matter, going on a extreme high elevation hunt, probably go to the doctor, get checked out ahead of time, make sure everything's right in your body, and have them prescribe you pills for that stuff. And you probably should take them. Just listen to your guides. They'll tell you what to do, and they're very experienced. Like our guides over there were phenomenal at asking them questions about when to take Diamox, what's the dosage, and when to get off it when obviously I had some bad reaction to it. But it's one of those things that I've never taken in my life before, so I had no clue how it would react to me. So again, maybe it would have been nice if I actually had taken Diamox before and knew what it would do to me, but for all the hunts I do in the West, I've never needed high elevation pills for. But going over there, it was an eye-opener. But so that's those nasty guys. All right, so that's a complete wrap up of my Tajikistan gear list. And again, like I said, I just want to basically do this as a way to help people going on international hunt. Maybe you can take a bunch of ideas for this for Western hunts as well. Because a lot of the same gear is the exact same gear I use on all my mule deer hunts. A little specialized on some of the travel gear and that sort of thing. But pretty much everything I carried here. You also notice I did not say I had game bags. We did not take game bags over there per talking to the outfitter. And I did take some knives. I took my goat knives, but actually never used them because the guide just kind of took care of everything, which is very interesting to me because I'm so used to cutting up my animals, deboning them, keeping them all out, but they handled all that as well. So hopefully this will give you some ideas and prep whenever you have another hunt of a lifetime coming up or your first hunt of a lifetime. And hopefully I didn't miss anything. I tried to do my best to keep all my gear together when I got home, what I used and what I didn't use. So everything you saw here is actually what I used on this hunt. So definitely, if you have some hunts coming up, now is probably a time to go through your gear. That's why every year I do these gear lists. I do them for a sole purpose to help people out on planning and preparing for their hunt. And I harp on it all the time. You need a gear list on your computer of exactly what you carry, and then it'll help you also pack all that stuff to make sure you don't forget anything. Because like this hunt was very stressful to pack for, because once we left, there's no getting extra gear. There's no going to a local store and picking up extra gear. So that's why I say gear lists are absolutely essential. And this is just what I use. There's a lot of other things out there that you could use. If you're familiar with other things, by all means use them. But this is just what works for me in all my hunts. And it just leads to having a very successful and comfortable hunt. So glad you guys watched it and hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, drop them in the YouTube video down below, or go jump over to the goHUNT website, check out the article, and you can drop comments there. So best of luck to you guys coming up.